Hello, welcome to Apra Bytes. I'm Audrey Geoffroy from the University of Florida, and I'm here today to give you a quick Apra Byte called 2 Concrete Ways to Manage Expectations and Speak Truth to Power. Hey, look, here they are. These are the 2 ideas. 1, meet up and down, and 2, have a tailored communication plan. What I mean by meeting up and down, it means meet with your supervisor, and if you supervise people, meet with your direct reports. You should do this on a regular basis. For some people, it makes sense to do it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. You guys get to decide. So when you meet regularly, make sure that you prepare an agenda. It's really important to use this time to make sure that you are updating your supervisor on the status of your projects because they also need to manage up. It's also a great time to ask for feedback or raise any concerns. Make sure that you're open to that feedback and that you have some ideas in mind for helping or ameliorating any situations. And if you have concerns, make sure you say what they are directly but tactfully, and that you have some possible solutions in mind. Even if the solutions are just something as simple as, hey, can we meet with a group of people and figure this out because I have no idea how to fix this. So now that you're communicating up and down, you also need to have a communication plan. This is really important because for everything that you do in your job, you should have a way of communicating to the other folks in your organization, depending on, of course, the scope, the impact, the audience, the stages, and the organizational channels and materials and documentation of whatever it is that you are trying to implement, whether it's delivering a standard report to a development officer or developing a new process in your CRM or creating a new business rule or selecting a new CRM tool. You actually have to have a plan for how you deliver things. And of course, the scope will determine the impact. Of course, if you're just delivering a report, that's only going to impact one development officer. But if you're selecting a new CRM, everybody in advancement, and even I would argue outside of advancement in the rest of your organization, will need to have some sort of communication built around that project. Now, of course, the scope and the impact determines who your audience is, and I would argue that you need to have a piece of communication for every part of your audience, not just the leadership, not just the people working on the project, but everybody in the organization that might be impacted. You also need to make sure that you have a regular plan for communicating at every stage of the process. You need to have something so that you can get approval. You need to make sure that your communication plan itself is on a timeline, which should mirror the timeline of whatever project you're talking about. And you also need to make sure that you have regular meetings at regular intervals and that you always communicate when there are delays. All of these pieces should be in your plan that you've decided up front. That, of course, can always be adjusted if the timeline needs to be adjusted. You should use whatever organizational channels are available to do this communication. At my organization, we have the document management system through which we can deliver research reports. That's a pretty simple communication plan, but for the bigger projects, we actually have governance and leadership meetings and staff meetings and regular newsletters and continuing education sessions that allow us to pass out information that needs to go to a wider audience. We also make sure that we document everything. We have all sorts of materials that are targeted toward the audience. Our technical staff has flowcharts and designs and all sorts of things that are needed to implement things in the CRM. And our prospect management and research staff, they have FAQs that help them figure out how to do the procedures that they need to do in the system. And of course, whenever we get approval for a new project, we create a one-page brief for our leadership. And those are very targeted in such a way so that they're usually graphical in nature. They only have 1 or 2 data points on them, and at most 2 or 3 options with the most important or the recommended option highlighted so that the leadership can make a very clear decision about something. Here's a sample that we have used here at UF for a communication plan. There are all sorts of different kinds that you can use. You can create a grid system based on the different channels that are available to you, or you can use a calendar format with a timeline set up where you plug in all the different pieces. It's really up to you and what works for you, but I just wanted to put a sample up here so that you can think about the different concepts you might have. So, finally, 2 ways to speak truth to power. 1, keep your supervisor in the loop. Meet with them regularly. Tell them what's going on. And 2, follow your communication plan. You should have one for everything. Thanks so much for listening to my Apra Bytes today. Hopefully you guys have some good ideas of others that you'd like to hear, or maybe you want to give one. So let us know at speakers@aprahome.org, and hopefully we'll hear from you sometime. Thanks.